Jake Morrison pushed his cleaning cart down the long metal hallway of Nexus Station. The wheels made a soft squeaking sound on the polished floor. Around him, aliens of dozens of different species walked past without looking at him. To them, he was just another human doing the dirty work that kept their important station running. The station was huge. Bigger than most cities back on Earth, it floated in space around a planet that belonged to no one, making it the perfect place for aliens to meet and make deals. The hallway stretched for miles in every direction. Some areas were built for tall, thin aliens with long necks. Other sections had low ceilings for short, round creatures that rolled instead of walked. Jake had been working here for 3 years now. Every day was the same routine. He woke up at 6 in the morning in his small room in the service quarters. He ate breakfast in the human worker cafeteria where no aliens ever came. Then he got his cart and started cleaning. Most people would find the work boring. Jake cleaned toilets, mopped floors, and emptied trash cans. He fixed broken lights and unclogged drains. The aliens barely noticed him. When they did see him, they spoke slowly and loudly, as if he was stupid. Some even pointed at messes and grunted, expecting him to understand. Jake played the part perfectly. He smiled and nodded a lot. He spoke broken words in the alien languages, mixing up grammar on purpose. He kept his head down and his shoulders bent, looking older and more tired than his 42 years. The aliens saw what they expected to see, a simple human doing simple work, but if someone watched Jake carefully, they might notice things that did not fit. His brown eyes missed nothing as he worked. When he mopped the floor, he positioned himself where he could see 3 different hallway exits. When he cleaned a window, he always stood at an angle that let him watch the reflection behind him. His movements looked clumsy, but he never wasted a single step. That morning, Jake was cleaning the diplomatic sector. This was where the most important aliens had their offices. The hallways here were wider and fancier, with smooth walls that changed color based on the time of day. Right now they glowed a soft blue that was supposed to be calming. Ambassador Vex walked past Jake without a glance. Vex was a Vorthik, which meant he looked like a walking tree with too many arms. He was talking loudly on his communication device about trade routes and shipping taxes. Jake kept mopping, but his ears caught every word. The Vorthak were planning to raise prices on fuel shipments to the outer colonies. 20 minutes later, Ambassador Kalara of the Zin Republic came down the same hallway. The Zin looked like giant insects with purple shells. Kalara was complaining to her assistant about fuel costs going up. Jake finished mopping and moved his cart to the next section, but he had heard enough. The Vorthak price increase would hurt the Zin colonies badly. Jake took his time cleaning the next area. It was a rest area with soft chairs and plants from different worlds. He dusted the furniture and watered the plants, working slowly. Sure enough, Kalara came through 30 minutes later looking upset. She sat down heavily in one of the chairs. Jake was cleaning a table nearby when Vex walked through, still talking on his device. He was bragging now about how much money the Vorthak would make from the fuel price increase. Kalara's antenna twitched when she heard this. Her people had very good hearing. Jake knocked over his cleaning spray bottle. It rolled across the floor and stopped right at Vex's feet. The ambassador looked down, annoyed. When he looked up, he saw Kalara staring at him with anger in her large compound eyes. Vex, Kalara said in a voice like breaking glass. We need to talk. Jake picked up his bottle and moved away, but he watched from the corner of his eye. The 2 ambassadors started arguing about the fuel prices. Within 10 minutes, they had worked out a deal that was fair to both sides. Vex got his profit increase, but not as much as he wanted. Kalara got fuel at a price her colonies could afford. Both aliens left thinking they were very smart negotiators. Neither one noticed the human janitor who had made their meeting happen. Jake continued his route through the station. In the afternoon, he cleaned the security sector. This was where Commander Vex had his office. Vex was a Zephyrian, which meant he looked like a tall blue lizard with too many teeth. He was the head of station security and took his job very seriously. Jake was emptying trash cans when he heard voices from Vex's office. The commander was meeting with his officers about strange problems on the station. Computer systems were glitching at odd times. Security cameras kept having small malfunctions. Nothing serious, but enough to be annoying. It started about 6 months ago, one officer was saying. Always small things. A camera goes offline for 2 minutes. A door lock resets itself. Communication static during important calls. Could be someone testing our systems, Vex replied. His voice was a low hiss. Run deep scans on all our equipment. Check the maintenance records, too. See who has been working on these systems. Jake finished emptying the trash and moved on. He did not change his pace or show any sign that he had heard anything important. But in his mind, he was already thinking about how to adjust his activities. The security checks would not find anything, of course. He was too careful for that. But he would need to space out his operations more. That evening, Jake returned to his quarters. The room was small and plain, with just a bed, a desk, and a small bathroom. Most workers had pictures of family or things from home. Jake's walls were empty except for a schedule of his cleaning routes. He sat at his desk and opened what looked like a maintenance manual. But hidden in the pages about floor waxing and drain cleaning was information that would have shocked anyone who saw it. Maps of every secure area in the station. Lists of which aliens were in which factions. Notes about who was planning what. Jake had been invisible for 3 years. The aliens thought he was just a simple human who cleaned their messes. They had no idea that every day he was learning their secrets. Every conversation he overheard, every document left on a desk, every computer screen left unlocked while someone went to get coffee, it all went into his memory. The aliens believed humans were useful but not very smart. They were wrong about the second part. Jake Morrison was very smart indeed. He was also very patient. And he was about to prove that being invisible was the most dangerous thing a human could be. Leonardo A. Image description. A middle-aged human man with brown hair and simple janitor clothes, pushing a metal cleaning cart through a futuristic alien space station corridor. The hallway has smooth metallic walls with blue glowing panels and large windows showing stars outside. Several tall alien creatures with different body types walk past him without looking, including a tree-like being with multiple arms and an insect-like creature with purple shell. The human appears unremarkable and keeps his head down, but his eyes are alert and observant. The scene has a sci-fi atmosphere with advanced alien architecture. 3 weeks after Commander Vex ordered his security sweeps, the problems on Nexus Station got worse. But they got worse in strange ways that no one could explain. It started on a Tuesday morning. The main computer system that controlled the diplomatic meeting rooms had a small glitch. For exactly 2 minutes and 37 seconds, all the recording devices stopped working. This happened right when Ambassador Torvin of the Hegemony was having a private meeting with his military advisors. Commander Vex was not happy. He called his best technicians to check every circuit and wire in the system. They found nothing wrong. The computers were working perfectly now. The glitch made no sense, but Jake Morrison was mopping the floor outside the meeting room when it happened. He had been there for 20 minutes, working very slowly on a small stain that did not really need that much attention. When the glitch started, he finished cleaning and moved to the next hallway. On Thursday, something else went wrong. The security cameras in the cargo bay stopped working for 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, someone moved 3 shipping containers to different spots. The containers held medical supplies for a colony world. When security checked the manifests, they found that someone had been stealing medicine and replacing it with fake drugs. The theft would have gone on for months if not for that camera glitch. Now the thieves were caught and the colony would get real medicine. Instead of sugar pills, Amy Carter was the security officer who investigated the cargo bay incident. She was 28 years old and had served in the Earth Defense Force before coming to Nexus Station. Amy was one of only 12 humans in official security positions on the station, and she worked twice as hard as everyone else to prove herself. Amy studied the camera recordings from before the glitch. She watched cargo workers, maintenance crews, and cleaning staff going about their daily work. Everything looked normal. But something bothered her about the timing. She pulled up the maintenance schedules for that day. The cargo bay was supposed to be cleaned at noon, but the camera showed Jake Morrison finishing his work there at 11:55, exactly 5 minutes before the camera glitch. Most humans would call that coincidence. Amy called it interesting. The next week brought more problems. The communication system had static during an important call between the Ethereal Collective and the Trade Federation. The static was so bad that both sides had to repeat everything 3 times. This made the meeting take much longer than planned. While the meeting dragged on, security teams found listening devices planted in the Ethereal Ambassador's office. Someone had been spying on the Peaceful Collective's private communications. The extra time caused by the static gave security enough time to trace the devices back to hegemony agents. Again, Amy looked at the timing. Jake Morrison had been cleaning the communication relay room that morning. His work order said he was fixing a small water leak. The leak was real. Amy checked the maintenance reports. But Jake had also been near the main communication controls. When the static started, Amy began watching Jake more carefully. She started taking her coffee breaks in areas where she could observe him working. What she saw made her more curious, not less. Jake moved like someone who had been trained to be aware of his surroundings. When he cleaned a room, he always positioned himself where he could see all the exits. He never turned his back to a doorway for more than a few seconds. His eyes moved constantly, taking in details that had nothing to do with cleaning. Most people would not notice these things, but Amy had military training. She recognized the signs of someone who had been in dangerous situations before. There was something else too. Jake's cleaning routes seemed random, but Amy started mapping them out. She realized that he was always near important areas when interesting things happened. Not just the big incidents with the computers and cameras, but smaller things too. When Ambassador Cree of the Mining Guild left secret documents on his desk, Jake happened to be cleaning the office windows. When 2 rival species were about to start a fight in the food court, Jake was mopping nearby and somehow managed to spill his bucket in exactly the right place to separate them. When a spy tried to break into the Zin embassy, Jake was fixing a light in the hallway, and the repair work required him to turn off power to that section for 30 minutes. The spy gave up because he could not see in the dark. Amy started keeping notes. At first, she thought maybe Jake was just lucky. But luck did not explain everything. The incidents were too well timed. The positioning was too perfect. She decided to test her theory. Amy created a fake emergency that required evacuating a secure area. She wanted to see if Jake would somehow end up in the right place at the right time. The test was set for a Friday afternoon. Amy arranged for a gas leak alarm in the financial records section. This would force everyone to leave while technicians checked for problems. At 2 o'clock, the alarm went off. Security officers began evacuating the area. Amy watched the security cameras to see where everyone went. Jake Morrison was supposed to be cleaning the recreation center on the other side of the station. But when Amy checked the cameras, she saw him pushing his cart toward the financial section. He was not running or acting suspicious. He just happened to be taking a new route that would bring him past the evacuated area. As people streamed out of the financial section, Jake was there with his cart. He started cleaning up some trash that the evacuation had left behind. But Amy noticed that his eyes kept moving toward the empty doorways. He was memorizing which offices were which. When the all-clear signal came 20 minutes later, Jake was gone. Amy checked the cameras and saw him back in the recreation center, mopping floors like nothing had happened. That night, Amy sat in her quarters and looked at all her notes. 3 months of incidents, dozens of coincidences, and always somewhere nearby there was Jake Morrison with his cleaning cart and his quiet smile. Amy had 2 theories. Either Jake was the unluckiest janitor in the galaxy, or he was something else entirely. Something much more dangerous than he appeared to be. She decided to find out which one was true. But she would have to be very careful. If Jake really was what she suspected, then getting too close might be the last mistake she ever made. The next morning, Amy started following Jake Morrison. She told herself it was just good security work. But deep down, she knew she was hunting something that might be hunting back. Leonardo. AI image description. A young blonde woman in dark blue security uniform with Earth Defense Force patches studding. Multiple holographic computer screens showing security camera feeds and station schematics. In the background through a large window, a middle-aged man in janitor clothes pushes a cleaning cart past alien creatures including tall lizard-like beings and insect-like aliens. The woman looks focused and suspicious as she tracks patterns on her displays. The setting is a futuristic space station security office with glowing blue interfaces and metal walls. The trouble started when the Hegemony delegation arrived on Nexus Station. The Hegemony was a group of warrior species that believed in solving problems with violence. They had been fighting with the peaceful ethereal collective for years. Now, they were coming to the station for peace talks, but Amy Carter did not trust them, neither did Jake Morrison. Though he showed no sign of it as he cleaned the docking bay where their ships landed, the Hegemony brought 20 delegates led by General Corax, a massive creature that looked like a walking tank with claws. His species, the Brutari, were known for their strength and their bad tempers. Corax smiled when he met the other ambassadors, but his smile showed too many sharp teeth. "We come in peace," Corax announced to the gathered diplomats. "The Hegemony wants only fair negotiations." Jake was emptying trash cans nearby when Corax said this. The general's translator was working perfectly, but Jake caught something in the original Brutari language that the machine missed. Corax had used a word that meant temporary peace, the kind you keep until you are ready to attack. Over the next few days, strange things started happening again. But this time, the incident seemed to target the Hegemony delegates. On Monday, a security camera in the restricted weapons storage area had a malfunction. For 6 minutes, it recorded static instead of the empty hallway. But when technicians fixed the camera, they found something interesting in the footage from just before the malfunction. It showed 2 Hegemony security guards walking toward the weapons storage with electronic devices in their hands. Commander Vex arrested the guards immediately. They claimed they were just lost, but the devices they carried were designed to hack security locks. On Tuesday, Jake was cleaning the conference room where the peace talks were being held. He was using a new cleaning solution that had a very strong smell. The smell was so bad that everyone had to leave the room for 2 hours while the air systems cleared it out. During those 2 hours, security teams swept the room and found 12 hidden listening devices. All of them were Hegemony technology. General Corax was furious. He claimed his people were being framed. But the evidence was clear. Someone from the Hegemony had been spying on the peace talks. Amy was starting to see a pattern, and she did not like what it meant. Every incident that helped station security happened when Jake Morrison was nearby. Either he was the luckiest person in the galaxy or he was making his own luck. She decided to confront him directly. Amy found Jake on Wednesday evening in the lower service tunnels. He was fixing a water pipe that had been leaking for weeks. The tunnels were quiet and empty, a perfect place for a private conversation. "Hello, Jake," Amy said, trying to keep her voice casual. Jake looked up from his work. His face showed no surprise at seeing her. "Evening, Officer Carter. Something wrong with the cleaning in your sector?" "I want to talk about coincidences," Amy said. "You seem to have a lot of them." Jake smiled his usual simple smile. "I've been working here 3 years. Lots of things happen in 3 years." "Not like this." Amy stepped closer. "Computer glitches that catch criminals, camera failures that expose spies, cleaning chemicals that reveal hidden devices. And you're always nearby when it happens." "Station's got lots of problems," Jake said. He went back to working on the pipe. "I just clean up the messes." Amy watched his hands as he worked. They moved with precision that came from practice. Not the kind of practice you got from fixing pipes, but from doing more dangerous work. "Who are you really?" she asked. Jake looked at her again. For just a moment, Amy saw something different in his eyes. Something sharp and calculating. Then the simple janitor expression came back. "Jake Morrison," he said. "Been cleaning this station for 3 years. Ask anyone." Amy was about to push harder when she heard footsteps in the tunnel behind her. She turned and saw 3 figures in dark clothes walking toward them. They moved wrong, too quietly, too carefully. These were not maintenance workers. "Jake," Amy said quietly, reaching for her weapon. "We need to go." But when she turned back, Jake was still sitting by the pipe. He had not moved at all. The 3 figures spread out, blocking the tunnel exits. Amy could see their faces now, all hegemony species. One was a Brutari like General Korax, the other 2 were Scarix, thin aliens with poisonous claws. "Officer Carter," the Brutari said in accented English. "You ask too many questions." Amy drew her weapon, but she knew she was in trouble. 3 trained killers in a narrow tunnel with limited cover. Even with her military training, the odds were not. "Good. The human comes with us," the Brutari continued. "He has seen things he should not see." Amy glanced at Jake. He was still sitting calmly by the pipe, as if 3 armed aliens threatening him was no big deal. Then everything changed. Jake moved faster than Amy had ever seen a human move. 1 second he was sitting by the pipe, the next, he was behind the nearest Scarix. There was a wet sound and the alien dropped to the floor. The second Scarix turned to attack Jake, but Jake was already moving again. He used the alien's own momentum against it, sending it crashing into the tunnel wall with enough force to crack the metal. The Brutari was bigger and stronger than the other 2, but it did not matter. Jake fought like he had been born for it. Every move was perfect. Every strike hit exactly where it would do the most damage. Within 30 seconds, all 3 attackers were on the ground and not moving. Amy stared at Jake in shock. The simple janitor was gone. In his place stood someone who moved like a trained killer. Someone who had just taken down 3 armed aliens without breaking a sweat. "How did you ... Amy started to ask but when she blinked, Jake was gone. The tunnel was empty except for her and 3 unconscious aliens. She had not heard him leave. He had simply vanished like smoke. Amy called for backup and waited for security to arrive. When Commander Vex asked her what happened, she told him about the attack, but she did not mention Jake Morrison. She was not sure anyone would believe her. That night, Amy sat in her quarters thinking about what she had seen. Jake Morrison was not a janitor. He was something much more dangerous. And now she knew that he knew that she knew. The question was, what was he going to do about it? Leonardo AI image description. A dark service tunnel in a futuristic space station with metal walls and exposed pipes. A middle-aged man in janitor clothes moves with lightning speed and deadly precision, taking down 3 alien attackers, 1 large tank-like creature with claws and 2 thin aliens with poisonous talons. A young blonde woman in security uniform watches in shock, her weapon drawn. The man's movements are fluid and lethal, showing advanced combat training that contrasts sharply with his humble appearance. Emergency lighting casts dramatic shadows in the narrow tunnel. The attack came during the most important day of peace talks. Representatives from 47 different species had gathered in the main conference hall. The Ethereal Collective and the Hegemony were finally ready to sign a peace treaty that would end years of war. News reporters from across the galaxy were watching. Amy Carter was on duty in the security center when everything went wrong at once. First, the station's main computer system crashed. All the security cameras went black. The door lock stopped working. The communication arrays went dead. Emergency lighting flickered on as the main power grid failed. "We're under attack," Commander Vex shouted over the alarm sirens. "All security teams report to stations." But his teams could not report anything. Their radios were not working. The elevators had stopped. Even the emergency stairs were sealed by security doors that would not open. In the conference hall, panic spread as the lights went out. Aliens started shouting in dozens of different languages. Some species could see in the dark, but most could not. In the confusion, no one noticed the hegemony delegates moving with purpose toward the exits. Amy tried to access the security systems from her terminal, but every screen showed the same message: "System error, contact administrator." She grabbed her backup radio and tried to call for help, but got only static. That was when Jake Morrison appeared in the security center. Amy spun around as the door opened. Jake walked in like he owned the place, but he was not dressed as a janitor anymore. He wore dark tactical gear and carried equipment that definitely did not belong to a maintenance worker. "Who are you?" Amy demanded, pointing her weapon at him. Jake looked at her with eyes that were completely different from the simple janitor she thought she knew. These were the eyes of someone who had seen combat and made hard decisions. "Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison, Earth Defense Force Special Operations," he said. His voice was calm and professional. "And you need to put that gun down, Officer Carter. We have work to do." Amy kept her weapon trained on him. "That's impossible. I checked the personnel records. Jake Morrison is a janitor. And Jake Morrison, the janitor, has been dead for 5 years, Jake said, officially. The man standing here operates under Ghost Protocol." Amy had heard rumors about Ghost Protocol. It was supposed to be a myth, elite human operatives who faked their deaths and went deep undercover to protect Earth's interests. Most people said it did not exist. "Prove it," Amy said. Jake reached slowly into his gear and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button and suddenly all the security screens came back online. The cameras were working again. The door locks reset. The communication system started receiving signals. "How did you double quote?" Amy started to ask. "I have been preparing for this day for 3 years, Jake said. He moved to the main security console and started typing commands. "The hegemony thinks they shut down our systems. What they really did was activate my backup network." Amy watched in amazement as Jake worked. He was not just fixing the computer problems. He was taking control of the entire station. Security cameras showed him views that should not exist. Door controls that were supposedly broken responded to his commands. "You built a second security system," Amy realized. "Built it, tested it, and hid it inside the regular maintenance network," Jake confirmed. "Every pipe I fixed, every wire I replaced, every cleaning robot I repaired, it all had a second purpose." The screens showed what was really happening on the station. Hegemony soldiers were moving through the corridors with military precision. They had weapons and explosives. This was not a computer attack. It was a full invasion. "Their plan is simple," Jake explained as he worked. "Take control of the station during the peace talks. Kill the ethereal collective delegates and make it look like station security did it. Start a war that will let them conquer half the galaxy." "How many soldiers do they have?" Amy asked. 200 spread across 12 teams. Jake pulled up a tactical display that showed red dots moving through the station. "They have been smuggling people and equipment here for weeks." Amy stared at the display. "How do you know all this?" "Because I have been watching them do it." Jake's fingers moved across the controls like he was playing a musical instrument. "Every shipping manifest, every personnel transfer, every supply delivery, I logged it all." The first part of Jake's counterattack was beautiful to watch. He took control of the station's maintenance robots, the same robots he had been working with for 3 years. But instead of cleaning floors, they began moving toward hegemony positions. The cleaning robots carried chemical tanks that Jake had modified over months of careful work. When the robots reached the enemy soldiers, they released clouds of gas that made the aliens fall asleep instantly. The hegemony troops had no idea what hit them. "Team Alpha is down," Amy reported, watching the screens. "Team Beta is also down. How are you doing this?" "Cleaning chemicals are very useful when you know how to mix them properly," Jake said. He was already working on the next phase. "But that was the easy part. Now it gets complicated." The hegemony commanders realized something was wrong when half their team stopped reporting. They tried to adapt, sending soldiers toward the security center to regain control. Jake was ready for them. The elevators that had been broken suddenly worked again, but only for Jake's use. He sent them to floors with no exits, trapping enemy soldiers between levels. Doors that were supposed to be locked open to let station security move freely then slammed shut to block hegemony forces. "This is impossible," Amy said, watching Jake orchestrate the defense. "You are controlling Everything, not everything, Jake corrected. Just everything that matters. The air filtration system that Jake had maintained for 3 years began pumping specific gases to specific areas. Corridors filled with sleeping gas where enemies waited. Fresh air flowed to areas where friendly forces were trapped. The fire suppression system activated in storage areas where the hegemony had hidden weapons. The sprinklers did not spray water. They sprayed a chemical that made the weapons useless. Even the food dispensers became weapons. Jake had programmed them to release a gas that made hegemony species very sick, but did not affect other aliens. You turned the entire station into a weapon, Amy realized. I turned it into a very large trap, Jake said. And they walked right into it. Within 2 hours, the battle was over. Every hegemony soldier on the station was either unconscious, sick, or trapped. The evidence Jake had collected over 3 years proved that the peace talks were just a cover for the largest military operation in hegemony history, but the most shocking revelation was still to come. As news of the victory spread, aliens throughout the galaxy began asking the same question. If humans could hide an operator this skilled for 3 years without anyone noticing, what other capabilities did they have? The age of underestimating. Humanity was over. Leonardo AI image description. A middle-aged man in dark tactical gear stands at a futuristic command console with multiple holographic displays, showing station schematics and red enemy positions. His hands move expertly across glowing controls as maintenance robots and security systems activate around the space station. A blonde woman in security uniform watches in amazement beside him. The scene shows multiple screens displaying sleeping gas clouds, trapped enemies, and tactical countermeasures. The lighting is dramatic with blue emergency lights and the glow of computer interfaces. Outside the windows, alien ships can be seen in space. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light, within hours of Jake Morrison's victory. Every major news network was reporting the same impossible story. A human janitor had single-handedly stopped the largest military operation in recent history, but the more aliens learned about what really happened, the more frightened they became. Ambassador Thex of the Vorthak was one of the first to understand what it meant. He sat in his office staring at the evidence files that Jake had given to station security. 3 years of intelligence gathering. Every secret conversation, every hidden deal, every plan that species thought was private. He heard everything. Thex said to his assistant, "Every word we said in the hallways, every call we made. We treated him like furniture, and he was recording all of it." The assistant, a young Vorthak named Kex, looked nervous. "Sir, if one human could do this, how many others are there?" That was the question that every alien leader was asking. If Earth could place an operator this skilled in deep cover for years without anyone suspecting, what did that say about human intelligence capabilities? Commander Vex called an emergency meeting of all station security. The Zephyrian commander looked tired as he addressed his officers. "We need to review every human employee on this station. Janitors, mechanics, food service workers, maintenance. Crews, everyone." "Sir," one officer asked, "what exactly are we looking for?" "I have no idea," Vex admitted. "That is the problem." The Ethereal Collective was the first species to officially change their policies toward humanity. Ambassador Rena sent a formal message to Earth's government requesting a meeting at the highest levels. "We have clearly misunderstood human capabilities," her message said. "We wish to discuss new terms for our relationship." Within a week, 12 other species sent similar requests. The Trade Federation offered humanity better shipping rates. The Mining Guild wanted to discuss exclusive partnerships. Even some of the neutral species began reaching out to Earth's diplomats, but it was the fear that interested Amy Carter the most. She was now in charge of the security investigation into the hegemony attack. Her report would be read by every intelligence agency in the galaxy. Amy knew that what she wrote would shape how aliens saw humanity for generations. Jake had disappeared again after his victory. Officially, Lieutenant Colonel Morrison had been killed in action during the defense of the station. The report said he died fighting hegemony soldiers in the lower tunnels. There was even a funeral with full military honors, but Amy knew better. Jake Morrison, or whoever he really was, had simply become someone else. Another janitor, another mechanic, another invisible human doing invisible work on some other station. Amy found herself looking at human workers differently now. The cook who served her breakfast, was he really just a cook? The technician who fixed her computer, was he really just a technician? How many humans were hiding in plain sight throughout the galaxy? 2 months after the attack, Amy received new orders. Earth Defense Force wanted her to head up a new intelligence program. They called it the Observer Initiative. Her job would be to identify and recruit humans who could work undercover in alien societies. We need people who can see what others miss, her commanding officer explained during their encrypted call. People who understand that sometimes the best way to protect humanity is to be invisible. Amy accepted the assignment. She understood now that the galaxy was a dangerous place, and humanity needed every advantage it could get. The changes in alien behavior were subtle but real. Aliens who used to speak freely around human workers now lowered their voices. Security. Protocols that never applied to humans were quietly updated. Some species began requesting that no humans be assigned to sensitive areas. The paranoia was not entirely wrong. Amy's investigation had revealed that Jake was not the only one. Her review of personnel records found at least 6 other humans on Nexus Station whose backgrounds did not quite add up. When she tried to follow up on their histories, she found gaps and inconsistencies that suggested false identities. Earth had been playing the long game for years. While aliens saw humans as useful but harmless workers, human intelligence had been building a network across the galaxy. Jake Morrison was just the first one to reveal himself. The hegemony trials provided even more shocking revelations. The evidence Jake had collected exposed not just the attack on Nexus Station, but a network of hegemony operations across dozens of worlds. Plans for invasions, assassinations, and sabotage that went back years. How did one human gather all this? Intelligence? The prosecutor asked during the trials. The answer was simple but terrifying for the aliens. He had not been trying to gather it. Jake had simply been paying attention to conversations that happened around him. The fact that aliens ignored human workers had made those workers perfect spies. General Korax, facing execution for war crimes, gave an interview from his cell. "We thought humans were weak," he said. "We thought they were good for labor and nothing else. We were fools." 6 months after the attack, Amy received a message through encrypted channels. It was short and unsigned, but she knew who sent it. "The station is cleaner now. New janitor started last week. Very good worker, quiet, pays attention." A friend Amy smiled as she deleted the message. Somewhere in the galaxy, another human was pushing a cart through alien corridors. Another invisible guardian was watching and listening and preparing for the day when humanity might need protection again. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not the simple, harmless species they appeared to be. They were something much more dangerous. They were smart, patient, and very good at pretending to be something they were not. Alien leaders now spoke of humans with respect and caution. Trade deals became more favorable to Earth. Military alliances were offered. Research partnerships were proposed. But in the service corridors and maintenance tunnels of stations throughout the galaxy, humans continued their quiet work. They fixed pipes and cleaned floors and emptied trash cans. They smiled when aliens spoke to them slowly and nodded when aliens pointed at messes, and they listened to everything. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The age of fearing what humans might be capable of had just begun. Amy Carter often wondered if that was exactly what Jake Morrison had planned all along. Leonardo. AI image description. A wide view of a futuristic space station command center with large windows showing the galaxy beyond. Multiple alien species in formal diplomatic attire look nervous and suspicious as they watch human workers in the background. Janitors, mechanics, and maintenance staff going about their duties. The aliens whisper among themselves while eyeing the humans with new wariness. Holographic displays show news reports about the incident. The scene conveys a shift in power dynamics, with the previously ignored humans now seen as potential threats. The lighting emphasizes the contrast between the worried alien officials and the calmly working humans.